The Kingdom of Monaco lies near the borders of France and Italy on the shores of Mediterranean Sea. How many inhabitants were there in the tiny little kingdom? So how many inhabitants? It is 7,000 inhabitants. What do you mean by roulette? Roulette is nothing but playing with the cards. The keeper gets the percentage. Out of the turnover, whatever percentage he gets, he has to pay some amount to the king. Hello everyone, I'm Babita Tamaya, lecturer, Department of English, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. In my previous session, I had revised the first chapter, that is Romeo and Juliet. In my today's session, I'll be revising the chapter 2, TOODEAR. Before I begin with the session or before I move on with the question and answers, I'll just give the summary of this chapter. TOODEAR, written by Leo Tolstoy. The Kingdom of Monaco lies near the borders of France and Italy on the shores of Mediterranean Sea. So in this kingdom, there were only 7,000 inhabitants and this kingdom is known as Tiny Little Kingdom. And if the land in the kingdom is divided, not all the 7,000 would get an acre of land. Such small was the Kingdom of Monaco. In this kingdom, there were only 60 men in the army. And the king used to collect taxes on tobacco, wine, spirit and poll tax. So why he used to collect the taxes? It means to say that whatever the amount he was getting from his kingdom, it was not sufficient for him as well as to feed the officials. So he started with a special source of revenue known as gaming house where the people came and played roulette. So there was no one to stop the King of Monaco. And this game was forbidden by the German sovereigns because the people used to come, try their luck, lose all the money and at the end of the day, they drown or shoot themselves. So they have forbidden this game. But there was no one to stop the King of Monaco. He knew that it was a dirty business, but he did not have any other way. So he was the only monopoly to continue this dirty business. And next, what happens in the Kingdom of Monaco? A murder was committed in the Kingdom of Monaco and the judgment was given saying that the criminal should be executed. And there was a hitch in the kingdom. What was the hitch here? They did not have the guillotine nor an executioner. So they thought of writing a letter to the French government. They wrote a letter to the French government seeking the help for the executioner and the machinery. The French government would lend them the machinery and it would cost 16,000 francs. But here, the King of Monaco was not ready to spend so much of amount. Then they thought of taking the help from the Italian government. A letter was written to the Italian government and they got the response saying that they were ready to supply the machinery and the expert, including the traveling expenses. It was 12,000 francs. But it also seemed too much to the King of Monaco. So then they thought of taking the help from the soldiers. But the soldiers were not ready. The soldiers told that they are trained, but they are not going to take up this job. At last, the king called the committee and the subcommittee to discuss with this matter. Later on, they all decided saying that we'll just improve the death sentence to life imprisonment. So the death sentence was changed into life imprisonment. One day when the king was examining with the accounts, he just finds 600 francs where he was spending to the guard. So why the guard was kept there? The criminal was put into the imprisonment. He was in a temporary prison and the guard was kept and the guard has to fetch the food from the royal kitchen or the palace kitchen to the criminal. So when he was just examining with his accounts, he gets to know that he was spending 600 francs to the guard. So the king again calls the committee and the subcommittee to arrange with this matter. So one of the ministers says that we'll just remove the guard. So when there is no guard, what happens? The criminal will run away from the prison. The guard was removed. Did the criminal show any sign of going away from the prison? No, he did not show any sign going away from the prison. But what did he do instead of that? During the time of his dinner, he himself goes to the kitchen, serves his food, come back to the prison, close the door and he was inside. He never showed any sign of going out of the prison. Later on, one of the minister, he himself comes to the criminal and say, When you don't find any guard, why can't you go away from the prison? If you go also, the king never bothers about it. At that time, what does the criminal say? You had given me the death sentence. The judgment was given as a death sentence to execute my head. You did not do that. Later, you have given me the imprisonment. A guard was kept. You removed the guard or you dismissed the guard. I never questioned you. But now you're asking me to go away from the prison where I'm not ready. Why does he say that in the sense? Because you have ruined my character. If I go out of the prison, no one will give me work. They turn their backs. How can I earn my living? So I have to leave. So it is not possible for me to go out and earn. So I'm not going out. At last, the same message will be conveyed to the king, and the king asks the ministers to reconsider the matter once again. So all the ministers will sit together, and at last they come to the decision saying that we'll give him 600 francs as a pension so that the criminal will go out of the prison. And they come and tell the same thing to the king, and the king will agree. But here, the criminal, he'll just say before going, he puts a condition. What is the condition? The fixed amount or the fixed pension he should get at a proper time. Before leaving, he takes 1/3 of his annuity and leaves the prison. He goes out, he buys a land, he settles himself. And if he will like playing the roulette game or the gaming house, he comes back to Monaco. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. So here, why the judgment was changed from execution to life imprisonment, later to send the criminal out of the prison? Because this has happened in the small toy kingdom where the king had all the power to take care of it. If it had happened in some other country and they would have not thought about the money, they would have executed. That is about the chapter TOODEAR, and it is a short summary of the chapter. Next, moving on to 1-mark questions. From this chapter, you can expect 1 mark, 2 questions. So 1 mark, you are expecting 2 questions from this chapter, and 4 marks also 2 questions. So how many marks? This chapter is very important. For 1 mark, you will be attending 2 questions. For 4 marks, you will be attending 2 questions, as well as you might expect 1 6 marks question also. So this chapter is very important. Let's go on with the 1 mark questions now. Where is the Kingdom of Monaco located? So when this question is asked, write the answer up to the point. Don't write the complete sentence and sit. Where is the Kingdom of Monaco located? It is located on the borders of France and Italy on the shore of Mediterranean Sea. Your answer should be only so much. Don't write the complete sentence and waste your time. Next, what is the population of Monaco? Or how many inhabitants were there in the tiny little kingdom? So how many inhabitants? It is 7,000 inhabitants. How many men are there in the army of Monaco? As I told, there are only 60 men in the army. What are the items on which tax is levied in Monaco? Or is name the commodities taxed in Monaco. They might ask you to write all the 4 taxes, or they might ask any 2 commodities taxed in Monaco. You should be knowing all the 4. It is tobacco, wine, spirit and poll tax. What did the people play in the gaming house? As I told, the king started with a special source of revenue known as gaming house. And what did they play there? They played roulette. What do you mean by roulette? Roulette is nothing but playing with the cards. Who remain has the only monopoly to continue this business? Which business? That is the gaming business. Who remain? It is the Prince of Monaco who remain has the only monopoly to continue this gaming business. What was the punishment given to the criminal? Here, many of them make a mistake. Actually, the answer is death sentence. In the beginning, the punishment was given death sentence, but most of them write life imprisonment. Life imprisonment is wrong. It is death sentence. What was the name of the machinery used to cut man's head off? What was the name of that machinery? It is guillotine. To cut the man's head off or to execute the man's head, the machinery is known as guillotine. How much money did the French and the Italian government charge for the machine and an expert? They might ask only the French government or only the Italian government. Sometimes they might ask both together. So the French government charged 16,000 francs and the Italian government charged 12,000 francs. Where did the criminal fetch his food from? The criminal fetches food from palace kitchen or royal kitchen. Any one you can write, either palace kitchen or royal kitchen, both are correct. Name the special source of revenue in the kingdom. As I told, the king started with the special source of revenue. What was the special source? It is the gaming house. What was the pension offered to the criminal? How much was the pension fixed? The pension was fixed 600 francs for the criminal. That was all about the 1 mark questions. So 1 mark questions, before you used to attend only one question, and now as I told you, the question paper pattern remains the same, but the number of questions they have increased. So you can expect or you have to write 2 questions for 1 mark and 2 questions for 4 marks. Moving on to the 4 marks question. Describe the tiny little kingdom Monaco. When I say about the 4 marks, you have to write the answers up to the question. No need of giving the introduction nor the conclusion because you are writing your answer for 4 marks. And don't write the points because as English, you have to write it in a paragraph. So describe the toy little kingdom Monaco. The kingdom of Monaco lies near the borders of France and Italy on the shore of Mediterranean Sea. And there were only 7,000 inhabitants in the kingdom. And if the land in the kingdom were divided, not all the 7,000 would get an acre of land. I told you while giving the summary, because it is a tiny kingdom, it is a very small kingdom. Whatever the land they have in that kingdom, if it is divided, not all the 7,000 would get an acre of land. And in this kingdom, there was a real kinglet. He had a palace, courtiers, ministers, bishop, general, and an army of 60 men. He had everything, but not in a large quantity, but in a very small quantity. And again, this will be a 1 mark question here. The king used to collect taxes on tobacco, wine, spirit, and poll tax. Why he used to collect taxes? Because he was not able to feed his officials as well as for himself. So he started with the special source of revenue known as gaming house, where the people played roulette. So special source of revenue known as gaming house. And what did they play in that gaming house? That is roulette. The people, whether they win or lose, the keeper who used to get, the keeper used to get the percentage on the turnover out of his profit. He has to pay large sum to the prince. So here they'll come to play the game roulette. They'll play, the keeper gets the percentage out of the turnover, whatever percentage he gets, he has to pay some amount to the king or the prince of Monaco. The German sovereigns forbid this game because they try their luck, risk their life, and later drown or shoot themselves. Forbid, it means to say that the Germans stopped this gaming house. But there was no one to stop the Prince of Monaco, and he remained as the only monopoly to continue this business. This is what you have to write for the question. Describe the tiny little kingdom Monaco. This will be the answer. Moving on to the next question. Why did the king keep on changing his decision in dealing with the criminal? So here what happens? A murder was committed, judgment was given, but the king keep on changing his decision. Why did he do that? A murder was committed in the toy little kingdom. The people of the kingdom were peaceable. Peaceable, they were very peacefully living. They never knew anything about the murder. The people of that kingdom were peaceable. After trials in the sense after too many arguments, they condemned the criminal's head cut off as the law directs. So here there were barristers, there were judges, jurymen, everyone were there. They were sat for the judgment. After listening to the argument, the judgment was given saying that the criminal's head should be cut off. The report was sentenced to the prince. Whatever the judgment was given, it was reported to the Prince of Monaco. The king, what did the king say? The king ordered for execution. So the king was like, whatever the judgment has the court given will go according to that. So what they are going to do? They are going to execute the criminal. But there was a hitch in the kingdom. Hitch is nothing but a problem in the kingdom. What was the problem? They neither had a guillotine nor an executioner. The ministers wrote a letter to the French government seeking them a machine and an expert to cut the criminal's head. A week later, they got the reply and they were ready to supply the machine, and the cost would be 16,000 francs. Letter was written, they got a reply. What was the reply? They were ready to supply, but the cost is 16,000 francs. But the king was ready to spend? No, the king was not ready to spend so much of amount. But the king felt that it was too expensive. 16,000 francs was too expensive. They decided to take the help from the Italian government. They were ready to supply both machine and an expert, and it would cost 12,000 francs including traveling expenses. Here, the Italian government was ready to send the machinery and an expert, including the traveling expenses. It would cost 12,000 francs. The king feels that it was cheaper, but still it seems too much. At last, they decided to take the help from the soldiers as they are trained. But none of the soldiers was ready to undertake this job. They assembled a commission, a committee, and a subcommittee and decided to alter the death sentence to life imprisonment. Punishment was given to cut the criminal's head off, but the king was not ready to spend so much of amount. Thought of taking the help from the soldiers, but they also never did. At last, they changed the decision from death sentence to life imprisonment. Again, what happened there? This would enable the prince to show the mercy, to show his mercy. So, what the minister said that if you're changing the death sentence to life imprisonment, the people of that kingdom might feel that you're showing some mercy towards the criminal. After a year, and again there was a problem in the kingdom. What was the problem? They did not have a permanent prison. They somehow managed to put him in a temporary prison, and a guard was kept to watch him. And what was the guard's work here? The guard has to fetch the food from the palace kitchen or from the royal kitchen, and he has to take care of the criminal. One day, what happens when the king was looking the expenditure, and the cost would for 600 francs. When he was looking into the expenditure or the accounts, he finds that 600 francs he was spending on the guard. So what did he do? Later, the guard was dismissed and the criminal was asked to run away from the prison. This is what you have to write for. Why did the king keep on changing his decision in dealing with the criminal? So, moving on to the next question. Why does the criminal refuse or reluctant to escape from the prison? Refuse, reluctant, it means the same thing. Why did he refuse to go away from the prison? The Prince of Monaco instructed his ministers that they must find some cheaper way of dealing with the criminal, as the present plan of placing him in a prison and a guard to look after him came to more than 600 francs a year. So the minister is saying that keeping the guard just to look after the criminal, it is that I'm spending 600 francs. It is too much. Something cheaper I have to do with this. So you have to plan for that. So the criminal was asked to run away from the prison, but the criminal said that he had nowhere to go. As I told, he had nowhere to go. He told them that you have ruined my character by sentencing, and the people would turn their backs. So, by sentencing him to death, and the people, each and everyone knows that he has committed a murder, and the people will turn their backs. They will not give me any work. How can I go and leave? Besides, he had got out of the way of working. They had treated him badly. He did not complain when they sentenced him to death and later to life imprisonment. Now the criminal is saying, when the judgment was given to execute me, you never did that. You have changed the death sentence to life imprisonment. I never questioned. But now you're asking me to run away from the prison where I'm not ready to go. A guard was kept to fetch his food from the palace kitchen, but after some time, even the guard was removed. Even then, I did not complain. But now you wanted me to go away, so the criminal refused to escape from the prison. And now the criminal says that you want me to escape from the prison, you want me to run away from the prison. No, I'm not going out. Later, all the members, the committee members, sit together and they will decide to give him, that is the criminal, a 6,000 francs as a pension. And the same thing was told to the king, and the king agreed. Later, before the criminal leaves, he takes 1/3 of his annuity and leaves the kingdom, and then he goes out and buys the land, cultivates his land. He lives his life very happily. And whenever he comes to take the pension, if he feel like playing the gaming house or the roulette, he goes to the kingdom of Monaco. Sometimes he wins and sometimes he loses, but he lived his life happily. So these are the 3 questions which can be expected from this chapter. So the 3 questions are: describe the toy little kingdom Monaco. Why did the king keep on changing his decision in dealing with the criminal? And the last one is, why did the criminal refuse to escape from the prison? These are the 4 marks question. So as I told you, you can expect one 6 marks question also. So if the 6 marks questions appears from this chapter, you need to write the introduction first, then come to the main answer, divide the main answer into 2 paragraphs. At last, you need to write the conclusion, then the critical analysis. Critical analysis, it means to say that what will be your opinion regarding this chapter. So for the 6 marks, the question might be, why did the king keep on changing his decision in dealing with the criminal? You need to write the complete answer from the introduction part till the end of the answer or till the end of the chapter. As I've given you 3 questions, you have to pick the answers from those 3 questions and then you need to write the 6 marks answer. That is all about the chapter TOODEAR. I hope you have understood. In my next revision class, I'll be taking the next poem, that is on children. Until then, have a good day. Thank you.